guys, it's Jen. So I've had a lot of people tell me that they wish they could use my cut files, but they don't have a silhouette. And while I have designed these cut files for cutting, I wanted to show you a way that you can use the PNG version of the cut file. So when you purchase a cut file, you get the SVG version and the PNG version. And the PNG can be used as a digital stamp. And so that's what I want to show you today. So you can see here that I've got, let me just move this down here. You can see that I've got the PNG spooked cut file set open, as well as my photo. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place one of these images, actually I'm going to place the trick or treat phrase over onto my image so that you can print it off with the text on top of it. And you can, a lot of people sell these digital like brushes or digital stamps. And I just wanted to show you how you can use any PNG file. So from whether it's my cut file or somebody else's like this. So the way that I format mine is specifically for using with a digital die cutter, but so they're all placed on one big canvas like you see here. If you want to just use one individual image, you're going to have to break it apart. And the way that we're going to do that, so like I mentioned, we're going to use this phrase that says trick or treat. So I have Photoshop CC open. You can use this with Photoshop Elements or any other Photoshop program. I'm sure there are other programs out there that you can do this with as well, but this is just what I'm familiar with, and I know a lot of people have Photoshop, so this should work for you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my toolbar here, and I'm going to choose the lasso tool. And if you don't see this little lasso, it may be because it's on one of these other options, the polygonal lasso tool or the magnetic lasso tool. So I'm going to choose the lasso tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just circle around this trick or treat phrase. And I don't have a mouse, I'm just using my finger, so sorry if it's kind of crazy. There we go. Okay, and it's hard to see, but there is a marching dotted line around the outside edge of this. Now what we can do is copy it, or we can just drag it over. So if you have now you can see it's selected. I've just gone up here to the selection or the move tool. And now I can drag it over to my photo, or you can copy paste it. So I'm just going to drag it over, and there you can see now it is on my photo. Now, of course, I'm just going to minimize these here so we can see this a little bit bigger. I could leave it like this and have this little black trick or treat on my photo. I might want to size it down just a little bit. So I could print it just like that with the trick or treat on top of my photo. What I want to do is I want to make it lighter. Now you can change this to any color that you want. Let me show you that before. I'm going to make mine white, but before I do that, I'll show you how you can change it to any color. So what you're going to do is go up to Image, Adjustments, and then you're going to find Hue Saturation. And then it will pop up this little window. And what I'm going to do is make sure I have the colorize box checked down at the bottom right, and that will allow me to change the color of that little file there. So I'm going to make the lightness, I'm going to move up the lightness and the saturation a bit, and then I can just move around on this slider here until I get the color that I want. So let's say I wanted to do an orange trick or treat. Maybe I'd up the saturation a bit so it gets a little bit more bright there. I could make it lighter or darker. You can just play around with the sliders until you get a color that you like. Now, if I wanted to keep it orange like that, I could just click OK. And there you have it orange. Now, what I find is that quite often, unless you have a really, really solid background, that this is getting a little bit lost on here. And so I like to add a little drop shadow. This is totally optional, but let me just show you how to do that. So I'm just going to make sure I have it selected. I'm going to go to the top and go to Layer and do Layer Style and choose Drop Shadow. Then it's going to pop up a window where I can choose what angle I want the drop shadow to go on. You can see it's previewing up here. And then I can choose how much of a shadow I want. So there's like a really heavy shadow, and here's like barely anything. I'm going to do something in between, I think. And let's see. I'm just trying to decide what angle I want my drop shadow to be. And then you can also make the drop shadow bigger or smaller. So you can play around with those controls. But I'm just going to add just a little bit of a drop shadow there. And you can see in this window is showing you where the shadow lies. So if I have it, this little line pointed at the bottom right, the shadow will be at the top left. So it's kind of opposite of what you think it is. So I'm just going to click OK. And now I have a little drop shadow on that trick or treat phrase. So like I mentioned before, I want this to actually be white, and I'm going to lower the opacity a bit. And so I'm going to go back to adjustments and hue saturation. And I'm just going to take it all the way light. That's going to turn it white. And I just like the light and bright feel of that. But I'm going to take it even a step further and make it a little bit more subtle. And I'm going to come over here to the right. My little Rad Lab box is kind of getting in the way here. And where it says, I'm just making sure I have that layer selected, which I do. I'm going to come to where it says opacity here, and I'm going to lower the opacity. And you can see it gets translucent. It becomes less opaque. And so you can just play around with however you want that to be. If I lower it too much, it kind of disappears, so I don't want to do that. And I like to keep the drop shadow on it so I can still see it. And so I'm going to lower it to like somewhere in the 60s. And now I can kind of see through it, and you can see this part of the wood has a line on it. So I'm just trying to make it go into a spot where it's not too awkward. So you can play around with that. And of course, based on your photo, it'll be different for you. And then I can go ahead and print that off, and that is going to be it for me. So that is how you can take my PNG cut files and use them as kind of a digital brush or just word art on your photos. And I hope that this has been helpful for you and that you'll give that a try. And we're going to go ahead and print these out and give them to my mom and my husband's mom as kind of like a little gift, a Halloween gift from Malia, which is my daughter, to them. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, just leave me a comment below, and be sure to head over to my blog at CraftyJenSchow.com, where you can find links to my shop and read more about this on my blog post. We'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.